Alright guys, this is Sean here for SonJupiter channel, now partnered with TGM. So, today we're looking at the PC game Medieval 2 Total War. This game is from 2006. It's a bit of an older one, part of a big series of games though. You might have heard of Rome, Shogun, Empire, Napoleon. Might even be one I'm missing there, I'm not sure. This is a pretty interesting series of games. It features some pretty large-scale battles. Just from what you've seen so far already, you can see there are literally hundreds, you can even have thousands of guys fighting all at once. Now, this particular battle that you're seeing is actually one of their little scenarios that is a historical battle. It's the Battle of Arsuf, I believe. Arsuf, I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. It is King Richard versus Saladin, I believe. I could be wrong though. Of course, this is the game maker's interpretation of how this battle would have gone, or how it was initially set up, and then of course you have to play as England, and you're trying your best to beat, of course, Saladin in this particular historical battle. Now, of course, there's other ones, and you don't just have to play historical battles here, but just to give you an idea of what you're seeing. Now, I think I actually lose this fight, just so you know, although I have beaten it before, but this is one of the tougher ones. This is just kind of give you the idea, because it's pretty well set up, has a pretty big variety, just to give you an idea of what you'd be playing in this game. One thing you'll notice is that the mechanics of play are a little bit weird. Obviously, I'm not literally controlling hundreds or thousands of guys, at least not one by one. If I was to click on any unit, it's usually 30 to 120 guys, and I'm clicking all at the same time, and they all essentially work together. So I can tell them to move, and even move into a certain formation, and of course they'll all do that formation as one unit. At the bottom center of the screen, you'll see kind of like player cards. Those are basically the representations of, say, like the groups of 30 to 60 or 120 units, whatever. You can actually set the scale before you go into a battle. And I think it might be a graphics option actually, but just so you know, it's there. Now, beyond that, obviously there's way more to this game. It's obviously extremely strategic. You really have to know what each unit's strengths and weaknesses are. You can't just charge cavalry into spearmen, even though cavalry generally owns a lot of stuff. Headlong into spearmen. The spearmen will always win, even though spearmen are generally inferior to most units. So you really have to know what units to use against what, when, and exactly how to maneuver your opponents in order to get the most out of every unit. So, I mean, one thing that I always love to do is, obviously, I just love using my cavalry to the max that I can. Archer cavalry is always nice, but if you have some heavily cavalry with their lances, and get behind some guy or a huge group of guys, whether it's spearmen, if you're lucky enough to get behind spearmen, or even headlong into archers, whatever, they will obliterate them for the most part, and they'll even start to run, which brings on to one of the next features of the game. The Total War series actually uses a morale feature. So you'll be fighting a battle, and you'll find that some of your guys will literally start to run away, and you will no longer be able to command them, obviously. This is something that, anyone who's played any RTS is obviously not familiar with. You don't have Archons running away in the middle of your StarCraft battle. Whereas this game, they've gone for a lot more realism, of course. You really have to watch your morale, and morale is affected by, there's a number of things. For one, in general, if you're losing a battle, your guys will start to lose a lot of the morale. Second, if your leader, that being, say, it's a king or general, or just maybe a royal family member, maybe something else, that will lower your morale. It depends on how important they are and how much it does actually lower it, though.
We must act now.
Also, if a lot of your guys start to get decimated all at the same time, then they'll start running. Like, if you do happen to have a cavalry charge against you, or some really heavy swordsmen are just hewing your front line peasants down or something like that, they'll know that they're going to lose the fight, and you can actually look at individual units' kind of mentality, or how fresh they are for the battle, you know, like physically and mentally. And you can see if they're likely to run. And in fact, at the bottom of my screen right now, you can see some little white flags at the top left corners of like the unit cards. So those guys are running. They things are not going well for them, so they're just out of there. Now, that's one of the reasons why I'm losing, because they just swarmed me with spearmen in this fight. It did did not go well. Regarding morale, there are also a couple other interesting features on it. If let's say, you know, it's night and the enemy's using fire arrows, that might have a slight effect on your morale. Again, if your guys are tired, that'll have an effect on it, because they just don't have the will to fight anymore, I guess. Maybe if you're facing the Aztecs or something, which is something you actually unlock later in the game, the Aztecs, then they might have sorry, if you're actually playing the Aztecs, they might be worried when they see cannons going off, because that's something new to them, so that'll have a slight effect on morale. There's all these interesting little features on it, and that is something you have to absolutely take into account every single battle, because a lot of the battles that I play, when I'm using my cavalry very well, I start mobbing some of their guys from behind with my cavalry, which takes up massive numbers at a time. Their guys are realizing things are going really bad for them, so they just start booking it, and then I start capturing half of their forces. By the end of the game, I've only killed, say, 3/4 of their guys, so it is a huge force you need to take into account. So now I think I'm just going to move on to the menus in a second, just to kind of give you an idea of that, what's all included in this game. Alright, so first of all, you can see there is some LAN and online. There's not many people playing this online, but it is a great LAN game. I have it on a couple computers down here just so I can play once in a while when people do come over. Here you can see, obviously you can change what kind of terrain you want to fight on, which also has an effect on morale to a degree, and what kind of settlements you want to play. So there you can see I was selecting which factions I would fight against. Here you can see the historical battles, Battle of Arsuf, the one that I was doing, and some other ones like Agincourt. There is the Grand Campaign mode, which you can see there's only 5 factions, although you can unlock more by eliminating them in the campaign. So here's kind of how the campaign works. You'll see it's more of a turn-based strategy, this part. It's basically you go to each town, you see who your leaders are, faction leaders, other leaders. You can build units, build buildings. They'll, of course, all affect how everything else goes. You need to have a pretty good understanding of your nation's economics and your situation in order to really get the most out of it. Moving on to one of the battles, you'll see that there is the ability to make a siege weapon. So instead of just immediately attacking a town, you'll take some time to build like a battering ram or siege tower or a ladder so you can better assault the walls. So this particular fight here, it's England versus some rebels in whatever town. I have the option to let the computer fight for me if I just want to actually just do the campaign itself and not actually do battles, which is only a quarter of the game. But obviously I decided to fight this one, so just to see how it goes, to give you an idea of how it would be set up, they kind of randomly, well, not randomly, randomly generated town, but they obviously have a set terrain for this this locality, whatever the province is in France there. Now, this is how it's default set up, or my forces. However, of course, I rearranged them, and normally I would have the option to arrange and then decide if I want to fight, but in this case, they decided not to give me the chance to build siege weapons, so they've actually come out, because they figured they have the advantage, I suppose, and just see if they can kill me before I can even breach their walls. So that's why it's just an immediate fight. I don't really have any options here. So right away I just start organizing all my guys, obviously. And they're just charging right at me, so I'm hoping to take out some of their cavalry. Right off the bat I lost my general, unfortunately, but as I beat down on their cavalry, I actually do manage to kill their general, and that obviously weakens their morale quite a bit, because mine was just an average guy captain. Theirs was an actual general, I believe. But it turns out that my spearmen are actually better trained than theirs, so that's the main reason why I start winning this battle, I think. Because once I kill their general and start destroying their cavalry with my spearmen, a lot of their guys just start running away. they know that hope's kind of lost without that cavalry of theirs. Now, one quick thing before I forget, back in the campaign map, I should note that it is most of Europe, some of Africa, some of Asia that you'll see. However, you do have the option to actually sail west and find the Americas, and there's actually an expansion called Medieval 2 Kingdoms that has the Americas. They have, well, I guess that's one part of it, but there's also a Britannia campaign, Teutonic Knights, etc. Stuff like that's kind of interesting. Also one on the Crusades. That's probably one of my favorite ones. It's probably the most well done, in my opinion. Although the Americas one is pretty fun, because you don't usually get to fight as Aztecs or something versus the French or whatever. So that's kind of interesting to see that. But also this game is kind of interesting because as you go throughout the grand campaign, there's a time advance, so you know you will start unlocking guns, etc., even though you only start with a lot more basic equipment. Not that your guns ever become amazing or anything like that. You know, your muskets aren't that effective, but as it is. So you can kind of see by now where this battle's heading, so kind of going back to the menus again, just going to see how the battles get set up. Now here I've just basically set up like kind of a wall defense map, and it's basically England and France. I'm England, computer France, versus some Eastern forces, and we're just going to be in a town, basically, so just gonna skip ahead. You'll see I have a lot of archers and spearmen, etc., and I've just kind of had all the other factions randomly generated. Now, I think they automatically get some siege equipment as well. Again, that's also randomly generated. You'll also you can actually upgrade armor, weapons, and their veterancy, which will affect the morale as well. Moving on, though, you can see how I've already set up this battle, like my forces. I didn't do very well at this. I was just doing mostly for just to kind of give you an idea of the video, or sorry, of the game. I wasn't doing very well. I just got destroyed on this. But you can see they're blowing down my walls with catapults and cannons, etc. And it's only a matter of time until they get to my walls with those siege towers and their ladders and whatnot. Basically what I kind of did was I sent out my cavalry to see if I can delay some of their ladders, but again, that's just kind of show some things you can do. I wasn't hoping to win this one. Alright, and while this battle is finishing up, I'm just going to give some final notes. Doom 3 is an older game. I do still plan to record it. I was having trouble because it wouldn't work very well on my Windows 7, but I think I'm going to be able to do it. I'm just going to have to put it on a different computer with XP. So look for that soon in the future, hopefully. Some other games might be Black Ops, Supreme Commander 2, Black Hawk Down. My goal is to show some unique PC games. But anyways, please like, subscribe, comment on some of your favorite PC games that you want to see, and see you later.
This video is part of the Way movement, a career path in video sponsored by TGN. To learn more, visit tgn.tv.